Hello, welcome along to a brand new episode of the Fun Kids Science Weekly. My name is Dan. We got a very, very busy show for you this week, which makes sense. When you think this searches out all the secrets lurking in the universe is quite a big place, so we should be jam-packed every week. This time you can hear about one of the strangest elements in the periodic table. Also, it's a double guest day. We'll talk to a duck expert about how they swim so brilliantly in water, and it's a huge deal, this, and seriously it's happening. This is an exclusive for this show for Fun Kids. We've got the Prime Minister of the UK on the Fun Kids Science Weekly. Boris Johnson will be on to tell us all about COP26, the big climate meeting. He'll answer some of your science questions as well. That's coming up. Cannot wait for you to hear that, and I've got your questions as well. This week they're on teeth, on the solar system, and on tsunamis. That's on the way. First, let's catch up with one of the smartest geniuses ever, telling us about some even smarter people. This is Sidney McSprocket.
Sir Sidney McSprocket's Great British Minds.
Oh, hello, Sir Sidney McSprocket here. Now, I consider myself quite the innovator. Some of my creations have been the talk of the town, like my porter shoppy. A lovely shop on wheels, easy to move to wherever your customers may be. Others, like my revolving trifle dispenser, well, less impressive. But our country has always been proud of its inventors, women and men with fine minds solving problems and helping us to improve our lives through invention, design and innovation. This was never more the case than in 1851, Victorian Britain. It was an exciting time for sure. Industry had never been busier, and improvements in transport and communication meant the world was being connected in a tremendous number of new ways. And in 1851, a great exhibition was held in London to celebrate the work of great minds from every country on Earth. It was the brainwave of Prince Albert, husband to the venerable Queen Victoria. The Prince and his Royal Commission resolved to celebrate the global advances of the industrial age as led by Britain, and the wider world too. Bringing like-minded folk together and sharing what we know is a terrific way to generate new ideas and to inspire other people. Work began to build a venue. In just 5 months, the glittering Crystal Palace was complete, an enormous structure of iron and glass, which must have looked absolutely magnificent twinkling in the sunshine. 3 times the height of St. Paul's Cathedral, and as long as 51 London buses. It was the largest building in the world at that time. But the palace wasn't there to look impressive. When it opened its doors in May 1851, it contained 100,000 exhibits from 13,937 exhibitors from every corner of the globe. Machines which could fold thousands of envelopes, and a printing press turning out newspapers in a jiffy. New types of guns and locks. And a perfume fountain, no less, for the visitors to dip their handkerchiefs. Another very popular attraction was the Koh-i-Noor Diamond. It was a fair mountain of light, and the largest diamond known in the world at that time. What a sight! 40,000 visitors would marvel at the exhibits and demonstrations each day, and over a third of the population of the country would visit the exhibition, eager to see what the future might be like. Victorians were just like us, you see. Many of you might have visited the Science Museum in London, or perhaps been to a concert at the Royal Albert Hall. They're in a part of London known as Albertopolis. And here's the thing, it's named after Prince Albert. And the land for these inspiring institutions, which also include the Natural History Museum and the Royal Colleges of Art and Music, was bought with the money raised at the exhibition. So, you can see, innovation and invention isn't something just for Prince Albert and the Victorians who visited the Crystal Palace. When we share what we know, we can inspire other people. And that goes for everyone, including you. Over the years and to this day, we have had many great minds here in Britain doing some truly spectacular work, and I'd very much like to introduce you to a few. I think that might be great. Oh, it looks like my ice cream steamer's running a little hot. I'll have to go for now. But do come back soon, won't you? Toodaloo for now.
Sir Sidney McSprocket's Great British Minds. With support from the Royal Commission 1851. Find out more at funkidslive.com/McSprocket.
Let's get to your questions then. If you've got anything sciencey that you want answered on the show, leave it as a review for us on Apple Podcasts. That way I can see it and I can do the digging for you. We start this week with Alexander, who's in Glasgow, who wants to know what are teeth made of? Now, teeth are made of 4 different types of tissue. A tissue is a group of similar cells that do a job together. In teeth, you have pulp, which is the inner part of the tooth with the blood vessels and the nerves and the important bit, the sensitive bit. Then around that you have dentin, which is hard and yellow. That makes up most of the tooth and it protects it. After that, you have a tissue of enamel. It's the hardest tissue in your whole body. It's so strong, you need that in your teeth. And that lets you chew without harming them. And then you have something called cementum. It's around the bottom of the teeth, and that holds them in place. Cementum, like cement. Here's a question from Kaya, who is 12, who wants to know, how big is the solar system? The solar system is everything that orbits the sun. Now, Neptune is the furthest proper planet. It's well over 1 billion kilometres away. To travel that distance here on Earth, you need to go around the world 800,000 times. But that's not where it ends at Neptune. Past that, you've got loads of debris and rock floating about. That's called the Kuiper Belt. And then you've got the heliosphere, which is gas and dust blown away by the sun. And then there's the Oort cloud. It's even more debris. Scientists think that even after Neptune and all of that, the solar system could go trillions of kilometres out, because what makes it in the solar system if it's under the sun's gravitational pull. So they know that it's big, Kaya, but they don't know quite how huge it is just yet. And lastly this week, it's from Arthur in the UK, who wants to know how a tsunami is created. Now, tsunamis are huge, devastating waves in the ocean. And a wave is made by passing energy through the sea. Most waves, the stuff that you'll see on holiday, they are made from wind gliding over the top of the ocean. Tsunamis are made from something underneath. Now, it might be an earthquake, maybe 2 bits of the earth rubbing alongside tectonic plates, moving and squashing into each other. That movement makes energy, and it makes a ripple right down at the bottom. But you know, in science, we know that a ripple can make a big deal. One change makes a huge difference. That ripple of energy, it moves across the ocean at 100 miles an hour, over 100 miles an hour at the bottom of the sea. But then when it gets closer to land, everything gets squashed. It gets pushed up to the surface. And there it slows down to make this huge wall of water, and they can be devastating. So that's how tsunamis are made. Arthur, thank you for the question. If you've got something you'd like answered on the Science Weekly next week, you need to leave it as a review for me over on Apple Podcasts. It's the Fun Kids Science Weekly. This week, we're looking at something that you might notice quite a lot, but maybe you've never thought why it actually happens. Why ducklings swim behind their mum. To tell us more about it, we've got naval architect Ximing Chuan from the University of Strathclyde up in Glasgow joining us now. Ximing, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dan.
Let me ask you, why did you start looking at this? Why did you start researching why babies swim behind their mums?
Well, this is a question asked by my daughter. So I have a daughter, 7 years old. Evelyn, she asked him, once upon a time, we take a photo a group of ducklings following the mother. So my daughter asked me why these baby ducklings are following the mother in a single file. So that time I thought, it could be energy saving. But then he asked me why it is energy saving. And I don't know. I don't know that time 2 years ago. So then I start the work to see why they can save the energy by using this single fire formation.
What did you do then? What studies did you do to figure out how it saves them energy?
I am naval architect, so I'm working on ships. So I can do the calculation about how much resistance of a ship which is moving in the water. So I use the same method applied to the ducklings to model the duckling in the computer and to calculate what is the force, what is the resistance acting on these ducklings when they are changing their position. So eventually I find this kind of resistance which is reduced by following the mother.
So just take us through, what forces are there for a duck bobbing along the water? What are they battling against when they're trying to swim?
So there are different forces. So when we are talking about resistance, what we can observe by these animals or ships moving on the water surface, or they can generate waves. So we call this is a wave drag. So the duck or ducklings, they have to overcome this kind of wave drag to do the work in order to maintain these waves. So in this way, the mother duck generating such kind of waves propagate to the wake, to the downstream. So the ducklings could make use of this kind of energy produced by their mother duck. So that is the reason when they are swimming behind the mother, there could be some positions these ducklings could make use of this wave. We say that is a wave surfing or wave riding.
How hard is it for a duck? Is it all about size? Because they're quite small, is that what makes it so hard for them if they were to do it on their own?
It is. So for any animals or shapes moving on the surface, they generate a lot of waves. So that wave can be observed by us. So for the small duckling, so the energy they have to spend, when we are talking about energy for the movement, so more than 50% of the energy is used for generating the waves. So it's quite hard for these ducklings when they do not have sufficient energy, to move individually. So the benefit is to follow the mother. The mother could, look after them by swimming in front and generate the wave for the ducklings, to follow, to serve. So in this way, so that I believe the mother duck looks very well with the ducklings.
Is it not tough for the ducklings, though, if their mum ahead of them is kicking up quite a wave? Is it not hard for the ducklings to use the power to get on top of the wave before riding down the other side?
Yeah, so I believe the ducklings, in order to follow the mother, so I believe they develop some sensing system. So but it's not only the resistance, but if they are not followed right behind the mother duck, definitely there may be a force which pull this duckling to the side way. So in this case, if you observe the feet, the wabbling feet of the duckling, so it behaves like a rudder of a ship. So it's about the maneuvering. So they try to maneuver and to adjust the position in order to find the right position right behind the mother duck in a single fine line in order to save the energy.
Now, this week's Dangerous Dan is all about one of the strangest elements on the periodic table. Now, the periodic table is a chart with all the elements on Earth on it that we know of, and antimony is element number 51. It's a metallic element, quite shiny, looks a bit like a space rock. It's got a strange history. You see, it's been known about for ages. Ancient Egyptians used antimony in makeup around their eyes to give it a black tint. Then in medieval times, it was used as a laxative, and a laxative is something that makes you go to the toilet. That's it, number 2. Not just that, it was used as a reusable laxative. reusable. I mean, think what that would mean. How would you reuse something after it's gone out that way? You need to fish it out and use it again. Now, it gets on our dangerous Dan list, not just because of that, but because it's one of the most explosive elements in the world. Just a little shock or heat can make it explode with a loud bang, a pop and a flame, and that's why antimony is on our dangerous Dan list. Now on the Science Weekly, it's time to catch up with one of our favourite science superheroes. It's K-Mystery.
K-Mystery, chemistry and climate.
And it's said to be the warmest month since records began, with temperatures reaching over 30 degrees.
This weather is nuts. Mum says it's to do with climate change, but I don't get it. How can the weather, just change? Oh, hey, K-Mystery. What's up? I know it's hot, but not sure there's any chemistry conundrums that need a superhero alter ego.
Well, you've got a climate change conundrum, and chemistry is critical to helping us figure out what's going on and stopping those changes.
Really?
Come on, I'll show you. Have a think about all the different parts of the environment that exist. There's the air we breathe, the soil we live on, the water we drink, and the climate itself. We know that human activity has led to an increase in carbon dioxide and other gases, all of which lead to temperatures rising and more violent storms.
We're getting wet. Let's get out of here.
But it's not just emissions we have to tackle. Man-made substances like pesticides affect soil quality. Water can get polluted by harmful chemicals from the rubbish we throw away and from industrial waste. And all of that affects the food we eat and the water we drink.
It sounds like there's a lot to fix. But how can chemistry help?
Well, that's the great thing. Chemistry can help fix things. It's also great at helping us understand what's going on and also help us reduce the problems.
What, like taking carbon out of the atmosphere?
Exactly. But I can tell you, it's not quite as simple as putting it in.
I imagine you'd need a massive vacuum cleaner.
Well, it's a hot topic. Or should I say, a very cool topic. Chemists are thinking about new ways to make use of the excess carbon and are also working with engineers to come up with sustainable energy sources.
Like wind and solar panels?
Yep, but thanks to chemists, nanomaterials are being created that not only make solar panels even more efficient, but also more economical. And that helps make sure the benefits of chemistry reach every corner of the planet. It could be changes to the way we manage the soil we use to grow our crops, as well as how we farm our food. It can help us manage our oceans, seeing how climate change affects marine life, measuring levels of harmful chemicals in the water, as well as levels of oxygen and acidity. We can monitor the air, seeing which gases are around and in what quantities, and examine the effects of pollution on our health and how we grow things. And, coming right back down to Earth, chemists can help develop new fuels and new ways to generate clean energy to heat our homes, charge our devices, and run our transport networks. Working out ways to do what we need to do, but using fewer and cleaner resources.
And we're back. Oh, thanks for the insight, K-Mystery.
No problem. Always happy to help with a chemistry challenge. Online, you'll find a cool experiment where you can test the greenhouse effect for yourself. Bye for now.
K-Mystery, chemistry and climate, with support from the Royal Society of Chemistry. Find out more and get hands-on with chemistry at funkidslive.com/chemistry.
Now, this week's Science in the News, it's all about the fallout from the COP26 meeting. You've heard about this up in Glasgow for the last couple of weeks. It was a big climate change meeting, trying to figure out what they can do to lower carbon, to stop emissions, to reduce the temperature, and to save the world, ultimately. And they struck up a deal to try and figure out climate change. And talking about it for you is one of the best possible people. He was there, he helped make the deal. It's the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson. He's on the Science Weekly exclusively to talk about what they decided, and he even answered some of your questions.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for coming on Fun Kids. I hear you're quite a busy man.
Yeah, well, yes, I am these days, yes.
So it's our listeners who are going to live with the decisions that you've made over the last week or so. How good is the deal that you've made? How happy can we be?
Dan, that's the question. The answer is potentially very good. It might be quite good, but it could be pretty hopeless. And it depends. It depends on how the countries that signed up to it actually deliver. And they've got to make good their promises. They've got to stop using cars with petrol or diesel. They've got to stop digging and burning coal, and they've got to start using alternative, cleaner forms of energy and planting zillions more trees. So that's what's going to happen. They've all made some promises. But the UK, we're going to hold them to those promises. We're going to keep chivying away.
What changes have you made at home in your daily life to be more green, like so many of our listeners?
Well, before I became Prime Minister, I used to cycle everywhere. That was my big contribution. I literally, when I was Mayor of London for about 8 years, and it was wonderful. I never had any kind of police car that took me around, or any of the stuff I have to have nowadays. And nobody ever shouted at me. It was wonderful. I cycled everywhere.
Just some quick questions from our listeners. This is from Imogen.
The world banned the use of coal. Instead, you can use solar panels in everyone's house to make renewable heating systems.
Well, do you know what, Imogen? That is almost what we did. I mean, we didn't get there in the end, but what we said was that for the first time, 190 countries said they were going to phase it down. Now, what on earth phase down means, you may ask, Imogen, but I think what it basically means is they're going to start to get rid of it. And that's a massive thing for the world to commit to. The world's depended on coal for hundreds of years. And there are countries that absolutely need coal to power their electricity stations, to keep warm, for all sorts of things. And so for them to say this is a big, big step. And it's very encouraging. You can't tell countries that are very poor, where the standard of living is very low, sorry folks, you can't use coal anymore, and they just got to shiver and starve. You've got to do it. You've got to do it in a sensible way. And what the UK wants to do is help them to adopt cleaner technology like wind, or solar, or hydrogen, or maybe even nuclear power if they want to do that. Though that's pretty controversial. There are ways of producing energy that are very clean.
This one is from Zika, fantastically named Zika.
If technology is making climate change worse, how can it make it better?
Brilliant question, Zika. You're going to the heart of the debate, because you see there are lots of people who basically think the problem is humanity, and that we've become far too industrialized, and that we have all these machines, and that technology is in itself wrong and evil and destructive. This is a very ancient belief that progress is a disaster, and that we should somehow revert to and lots of green people, lots of environmentalists are secretly hoping to return to a kind of pastoral idyll where we all run around, wearing, hand-knitted clothes and that sort of thing. And I'm not against that. That's fantastic. But smelling faintly of wood smoke. I'm all in favour of that kind of thing, but in the end, it's not what people want. So what you have to do is use technology. You have to use inventions to fix it. And we can. And we have the technology, as they used to say on the TV when I was a kid. We can fix this thing. But some of this technology is very expensive, and you have to help people to do it.
That is it for this week's Fun Kids Science Weekly. If you've enjoyed anything you've heard on the show, if you'd like to hear more podcasts from us, you can do that by listening to them on Apple Podcasts. They're also on Spotify, on Google, wherever you get your shows. You can find them on the free Fun Kids app and at funkidslive.com as well. And Fun Kids, we are a children's radio station from the UK. You can listen to us all around the country on your DAB digital radio, on that free Fun Kids app, and at funkidslive.com.